I, Evan Carter, 40 years old, a software engineer, live in a 2-story house in the Laurelhurst neighborhood of Portland, Oregon, with Claire Donovan, my wife of 12 years. Our life seemed solid. Coffee mornings, fishing trips, and lively BBQs with Lucas Reed, my best friend from college. Claire, 38, a freelance interior designer, always had a smile that made me forget my exhaustion. But that day, everything crumbled. I came home early because of a company system crash, sitting in the living room, browsing Claire's iPad for a podcast about investing that Lucas recommended. By accident, I tapped an open FaceTime notification. Claire's laughter rang out, the kind of genuine laugh I rarely heard, not the polite one she used with strangers. Then Lucas's voice. He doesn't suspect a thing. Once he signs the house over to you for the tax benefits, we'll have everything to start our new life, without that pathetic fool. They laughed loudly. My heart sank like it fell through the floor. Claire continued, her voice slightly slurred from wine. 3 months to go. He thinks I'm at book club and you're at a finance seminar. Hilarious. Remember how we almost got caught at your sister's wedding? Lucas chuckled. So close, yet he's still clueless. Too trusting. I sat frozen, my finger hovering over the end call button. They talked about tricking me into transferring the house, siphoning money from our joint account, about 2 years of sneaking behind my back. I disconnected, hands shaking, staring at a photo of the 3 of us on the shelf, last summer's barbecue, fake smiles. I wanted to smash everything, to call Claire home and scream, but I stopped. They called me a pathetic fool. I wouldn't give them more to laugh about. I opened my laptop, created a Proton Mail account, downloaded Signal on an old phone. Jacob, my brother, and Sarah, a tech colleague, would be my anchors. 100 days. I'd be the perfect husband, but this time, to reclaim myself. The days after the shock, I lived like an actor on the stage of my own life. Each morning, I brewed coffee in our small Laurelhurst kitchen, set a mug on the table for Claire, and smiled as she came downstairs, hair tousled, eyes sparkling like she hadn't betrayed me. But in my head, a plan was forming, sharp as the code I wrote daily. I couldn't let Claire or Lucas suspect. Not now. On day 4, I started acting. Claire left the house, saying she was meeting a client for an interior design project. I checked her T-Mobile location app. She wasn't at a client's office but at a swanky bar in the Pearl District. I wasn't surprised, but my chest still ached. I contacted Tom, a private investigator Sarah recommended via an encrypted Signal message. Need someone followed. No questions, I wrote. Tom agreed, his voice gruff like he'd done this before. I sent Claire's photo, feeling like I was handing a piece of my heart to a stranger. That evening, Claire came home, cheeks flushed, a faint whiff of unfamiliar perfume. She talked about a difficult client, smiling brightly, and I nodded, pretending to listen. You'll handle any client, babe, I said, pouring her more wine. In my head, I noted, day 4, 7:45 p.m., Claire lied about her schedule. I started using an encrypted journaling app, not paper, to log every detail. Each of her lies was a piece in the puzzle I was building. On day 6, I called Jacob my brother. We met at a small coffee shop near the Willamette River. Jacob, with his salt and pepper hair and sharp eyes from years in the military, knew I was hiding something. You look like a truck hit you, Evan, he said, sipping black coffee. I only shared part. Marriage is rocky. Need time. Jacob didn't push, just nodded and said, need anything, just say. My place always has a room. I smiled, knowing I had an ally. The following days I lived 2 lives. By day, I was Evan, the attentive husband, fixing a leaky faucet, buying Claire's favorite sourdough from a local bakery. By night, I was an investigator, digging through data. On day 9, Tom sent his first report, photos of Claire and Lucas at a boutique hotel in downtown Portland, hand in hand. I stared at the images, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. But instead of breaking, I saved them to an encrypted drive, labeled Evidence 1. I started running every morning, not for health, but to keep from smashing something. On day 12, Lucas texted, inviting me to watch basketball at his place. I wanted to refuse, to throw my phone at the wall, But I replied, "Deal. Bringing beer." When I arrived, I sat on his couch, faking laughter as he talked about a new girl he was seeing. The lie slid out smoothly as oil. I nodded, asked about this imaginary woman, secretly recording on my phone. Lucas, oblivious, mentioned a big plan with Claire, though not explicitly. "Big things coming, bro," he winked. I smiled, thinking, "You won't be smiling, Lucas." Claire started noticing. On day 14, she asked why I left my phone lying around, her voice sweet but eyes probing. I played dumb. "Oh, probably forgot to lock it, too busy." I'd set up a decoy phone with harmless search history, tax articles, recipes, for her to check. She smiled, likely thinking I was still the clueless husband. But I saw her check it when I pretended to shower, and I knew I had to be more careful. Each night, I lay beside Claire, listening to her steady breathing, wondering if she dreamed of Lucas. I opened my journal app, logging everything: places Claire went, texts Lucas sent, glances they shared at a neighbor's party. My anger no longer burned. It turned cold, sharp as a blade. I didn't just want to escape them, I wanted them to see how wrong they were. On day 15, I got an email from Tom, a short video from a security camera, Claire and Lucas kissing in her car, parked on a quiet street. I watched it repeatedly, not out of pain, but to remind myself not to soften. I saved it to Evidence 2 and texted Rachel, a lawyer I'd contacted via an online support group. "Need to meet soon. I have something you should see." 100 days, I told myself. I'd make Claire and Lucas pay, not with fists, but with truth. I closed my laptop, turned off the light, and lay down, ready for the next day. Every step I took on Portland's sidewalks during my early morning runs carried a new purpose. I was no longer the naive husband or the silent investigator. I was a man building an escape, piece by piece, while Claire and Lucas thought they held all the cards. Our Laurelhurst home now felt like a chessboard, and I was making my final moves before flipping the table. On day 61, I received an email from Tom, the PI, with a thick file, copies of bank transactions from Claire's design company, showing tens of thousands transferred to offshore accounts, with Lucas's signature as financial consultant. I sent it to Rachel, my lawyer, via encrypted link. "This isn't just infidelity," Rachel said over the phone, her voice tense. "If this is money laundering, you need to stay clear to avoid being implicated." I nodded, but inside I wanted to dig deeper, not just to protect myself but to ensure they didn't escape justice. I started testing Claire's limits. On day 65, I suggested a weekend camping trip with Lucas and a few friends near Trillium Lake. "Why not invite Hannah too?" I said, watching Claire's eyes. She gave a strained smile, saying, "Hannah's busy, probably just us." I knew she lied. Hannah had texted Claire about the trip, and I saw it via the spyware on our shared computer. I nodded, feigning excitement. "That'll be fun. Been a while since we hung with Lucas." Claire smiled, but I saw her fingers tighten around her coffee mug. They were nervous. The camping trip, day 68, was a tense performance. Lucas brought a new tent, boasting about investing in the future. Claire laughed too loudly, but their glances were too frequent. I played the good friend, starting the campfire, reminiscing about college days, but secretly placed a small recorder in my jacket pocket near Lucas's tent. That night, pretending to sleep, I heard them whispering outside, "We need to speed up the plan." "He's starting to ask questions," Claire said, her voice shaky. Lucas reassured her, "He's just posturing. Stay calm." I lay in the dark, gripping my phone, feeling like a hunter hearing prey step into a trap. But not every day was strong. On day 70, I nearly broke. During a lunch break at work, my heart raced, my breath short, like the air was sucked out of the room. Sarah, my colleague, noticed as I sat dazed in the meeting room. "Evan, you okay?" she asked, handing me water. I shared a piece. "My wife might be cheating." Sarah didn't pry, just sat with me, sharing how she found out her ex-husband cheated. "You'll get through this," she said. "Don't let it consume you." That night, Sarah sent me software to recover deleted emails from Claire's iCloud. I found a document called Seattle Plan, detailing their apartment purchase, with a note, "After the house papers, we're gone." I saved it, feeling like I'd found the final bullet. On day 75, Claire grew suspicious. She caught me on my phone at midnight, asking, "What are you doing staring at that screen?" I laughed, saying, "Just watching basketball videos." But her eyes were sharp, like she sensed something. I started locking my real phone in a drawer, using the decoy to distract her. I also moved precious items, my dad's ring, my vinyl collection, to a storage unit in Portland suburbs. "Decluttering the house," I told Claire when she asked. She nodded, but I saw her check the garage later, searching for clues. On day 80, Lucas invited me for beers at a Hawthorne bar. I went, curious to see what he'd reveal. He talked about work, a big project, nearing completion, but his eyes flicked to his phone whenever Claire texted. "You good, Evan?" he asked, his tone fake. "You seem stressed." I smiled, sipped my beer. "Just work. How's your big project?" He dodged, but I knew the project was their new life, built on my ruins. I left, adding another recording to my evidence, where Lucas mentioned money from Claire's company. On day 85, I met Jacob at a small park near his place. He noticed I'd lost weight, my eyes sunken. "You're killing yourself," he said, handing me a sandwich from a nearby food cart. I shared a bit more. "Claire and Lucas are planning to take the house and my money." Jacob gripped his beer, his eyes hardening. "Need me to do anything? Beat that bastard?" I shook my head, saying, "Just be there. Keep a room open." Jacob nodded, and I knew he'd have my back. On day 90, I ran through the rain, water soaking my jacket, but I didn't care. I stopped on the steel bridge, looking down at the Willamette River, feeling a new clarity. I wasn't just fighting Claire and Lucas, I was fighting to not be a loser. I texted Rachel, "Prepare the divorce papers. I want everything ready." Back home, I cooked dinner, and when Claire walked in, I kissed her forehead as always. But inside, I counted 10 days left. I wouldn't just escape them, I'd make them face their consequences. Portland in the final days of my 100-day journey was cloaked in thick fog, as if the city was keeping secrets with me. I was a man on the edge, ready to flip the chessboard Claire and Lucas thought they'd won. Every step, every glance I gave Claire, was part of the final act. I no longer trembled or hesitated. I was ready. On day 91, I met Rachel at her downtown Portland office, where light streamed through windows onto stacks of files. She laid out papers, divorce petition, asset division, and a detailed report on Claire and Lucas's shady financial transactions. "You have enough evidence to make them not dare fight back," Rachel said, tapping her pen. "But you need the perfect moment." I nodded, asking her to prepare a video compilation, recordings, photos, emails, and the Seattle Plan document. I wanted it short, sharp, and undeniable, ready to play when the time came. Rachel gave a rare smile. "You're one cold bastard." On day 93, Claire suggested hosting a 12th anniversary party at home. "Just close friends," she said, eyes sparkling like she was playing the happy bride again. I knew she wanted to maintain the perfect facade before leaving me. "Great idea," I said smoothly. "Invite Lucas and Hannah too? More the merrier." Claire blinked, hesitating, then nodded. I texted Jacob and Sarah, asking them to be there, no explanation. Jacob replied, "Got it. I'll be there." Sarah texted, "You're planning something big, aren't you?" I didn't answer, but she knew I was preparing a storm. I spent day 95 finalizing the video. In my home office, the laptop's blue light on my tired face, I reviewed each piece. Claire and Lucas kissing in the car, the camping trip recording, "We need to speed up the plan." He's asking questions, and emails about the Seattle apartment. I added a final caption, 12 years of marriage, 2 years of lies. The video was 90 seconds, enough to shatter everything. I saved it to a USB, tucked it in my jacket, and felt an odd calm. I wasn't angry anymore, I just wanted the truth to speak. On day 97, I walked through Forest Park, where tall trees blocked the sun. I thought about our wedding day, Claire in her white dress, holding my hand before family and friends. That image felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. I wrote a letter, not to send, just to release. Claire, you chose to destroy what we built. But I won't let you take my self-respect. I tore it up, letting the wind carry the pieces. That was my goodbye to the past. On day 99, I double-checked everything with Rachel in a brief call. All set, she said. Divorce papers filed right after the party. Assets split evenly, Claire's secret account will be audited. If there's fraud, she's in deep trouble. I thanked her, then texted Jacob and Sarah, confirming their attendance. I also texted Hannah, feigning friendliness. See you tomorrow, been a while. She replied curtly, yeah, see you, but I sensed her unease. Day 100, the morning of the anniversary party, I woke at dawn. I made coffee, placed a mug by Claire's bed as always, but this time, I didn't look at her when she woke. Today will be special, she said, smiling, likely thinking of her own plans. Sure will, I replied, turning to hide a cold smile. I drove to a small Selwood coffee shop, meeting Jacob to finalize the plan. What are you doing? He asked, voice low. Ending it, I said. Just be there, keep things calm if it gets messy. Jacob nodded, his eyes saying, you've got this. Back home, I set up the backyard for the party. A wooden table with a white cloth, lanterns in the trees, and a small screen borrowed from work, telling Claire it was for memory photos. She wore her red dress, the necklace I gave her last year, and hugged me in front of guests, a perfect act. Lucas arrived, slapping my shoulder, grinning, happy milestone, buddy. I nodded, feeling like I was facing a stranger. Hannah arrived late, avoiding my eyes, but I saw her whisper to Claire. Sarah and Jacob stood in the yard's corner, watching, ready like soldiers awaiting orders. As the sun set, I stood, raising my glass, ready to speak. Claire smiled, holding my hand, thinking I'd say loving words. But in my pocket, the USB with the video waited. A few hours left, everything would change. I looked around at familiar faces, knowing that after tonight, no one would see Claire and Lucas the same. I counted down in my head, 3, 2, 1. The curtain was about to fall. Under the twinkling lanterns in our Laurelhurst backyard, the 12th anniversary party became my final stage. Guests raised glasses, laughing, unaware I was about to tear down the curtain of lies Claire and Lucas had woven for 2 years. I stood in the yard, wineglass in hand, my eyes sweeping over Claire, radiant in her red dress, and Lucas, clapping, his smug smile like he'd already won. But I, with the USB in my pocket, knew their game was over. I began my speech, voice steady, like a husband reminiscing. 12 years is a long journey, I said, looking at Claire. She smiled, squeezing my hand, expecting loving words. I turned to the small screen in the yard's corner, introduced as a place for memory photos. But tonight, I want to share a different story. I plugged in the USB, pressed play. The screen lit up, and the 90-second video began, Claire and Lucas kissing in the car, the camping trip recording, we need to speed up the plan. He's asking questions, and emails about the Seattle plan. The final caption appeared, 12 years of marriage, 2 years of lies. Silence fell. Claire dropped my hand, her face pale. Lucas froze, his beer slipping onto the grass. Guests whispered, their eyes shifting between shock and discomfort. Hannah, Claire's friend, covered her mouth, eyes teary. Jacob, my brother, stepped closer, his hand on my shoulder like a shield. Sarah, my colleague, stood in the yard's corner, nodding slightly, as if confirming I'd done right. Claire tried to speak. Evan, you've misunderstood. But her voice broke as I raised my hand, cutting her off. Don't, I said, voice cold as stone. I've known everything for a long time. I turned, left the yard, leaving the murmurs and stares focused on Claire and Lucas. I drove to a Selwood coffee shop, where soft yellow lights calmed my mind. I texted Rachel, it's done. File the papers. She replied instantly, divorce filed this morning. Assets split evenly, Claire's secret account will be audited. I transferred half the joint account to Claire, noting, your share. Done. My share went to a new, secure account. I turned off my phone, sipped coffee, and for the first time in 100 days, I breathed without pain. The next day, I met Claire at a small Alberta coffee shop. She arrived, hair messy, eyes puffy, still in her red dress from last night. She sat across, launching into excuses. It's not what you think. Lucas and I cut her off, pulling out my phone, playing the Pearl District bar recording. Let him think everything's fine. A few more months, we're free. Her face paled. How long have you known? She whispered. 100 days, I said. Every lie, every text, every dollar you took. I know it all. She cried, apologized, said she still loved me. I looked at her, no longer seeing the wife I loved, just a stranger in a familiar face. Divorce papers are filed. Don't fight, you'll lose, I said, standing. When she grabbed my hand, begging, I gently pulled away and left. 3 days later, I ran into Lucas at an electronics store in downtown Portland, buying cables for my new apartment. He looked haggard, eyes sunken, holding a phone charger. Evan, we need to talk, he said, voice shaky. It's not what you think. I looked into his eyes, asking, did you ever think about 12 years of friendship? When you planned to steal my house, my life? Lucas stammered, no answer. I don't hate you, I said. But there's no place for you in my life anymore. I turned, leaving him among the shiny shelves, smaller than ever. I moved to a new apartment in South Waterfront, a small space with windows overlooking the Willamette River. Jacob helped me move, asking little, leaving a craft beer and saying, you did it. Sarah texted, congratulating me for escaping. The Laurelhest house was listed for sale, and Rachel insured assets would be split fairly. Claire's secret account, with $100,000, was under investigation for suspected money laundering. I didn't care about the outcome, I just wanted all ties cut. That night, I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights reflect on the river. My phone buzzed endlessly, 47 missed calls, 22 texts from Claire, 10 from Lucas, and a few from Hannah, apologizing for her silence. I only replied to Jacob, thanks, bro. I played an old jazz playlist, the music washing away the last fragments of 12 years. I had no regrets. 100 days had transformed me, not the fool Claire and Lucas thought, but a man who knew his worth. Morning sunlight sparkled on the Willamette River, filtering through the windows of my small South Waterfront apartment. The apartment, with its simple white walls and bookshelves full of vinyl records, was where I started over. 3 months after day 100, I no longer counted days, but each step carried a mix of freedom and faint pain from the past. I spent the first weeks after the anniversary party settling into my new life. The Laurelhest house sold quickly, as Rachel predicted in Portland's hot market. Assets were split evenly, no disputes. Claire's secret account, with $100,000, was under tax authority scrutiny for suspected money laundering through her design company. I heard through Jacob that Claire lost major clients, and Lucas was fired from his finance firm over the scandal. I didn't take joy in it, I just felt relief knowing justice was at work. Jacob became my biggest anchor. One afternoon, he stopped by the apartment, bringing a box of voodoo donuts. You're looking better, he said, sitting on the sofa, watching me arrange vinyls. But don't get stuck in the past. I nodded, telling him about an art class I'd joined at a Southeast community center. Not to be a painter, I laughed. Just want something new. Jacob winked. Try it. You might find something good. The art class introduced me to Maya, a 35-year-old woman with curly hair and warm eyes. She was a volunteer teacher, once divorced, rebuilding her life through art. We talked during breaks about abstract paintings and how colors could express emotions. You paint like you're telling a sad story, she said once, pointing at my blue canvas. I smiled, not mentioning Claire, but her understanding eased my heart. Maya wasn't my future, not yet, but she was a sign I could open up again. Sarah, my colleague, stayed in touch. She texted one rainy night, inviting me to a Mississippi bar to see an indie band. You need to get out more, she wrote. I went, and amid the twang of guitars, I told her about the art class and Maya. Sarah laughed. From engineer to artist, Evan? You're full of surprises. She shared how she started dating after her divorce, And I realized I wasn't alone in this journey. Sarah became an unexpected friend, reminding me life still had much to offer. I started an anonymous blog, New Dawn PDX, sharing my story, not for revenge, but to help others struggling with betrayal. The first post, 100 Days to Reclaim Myself, got dozens of comments from strangers. "Thank you," one wrote. "I thought I couldn't move on, but you make me want to try." Reading those words, I felt I wasn't just living for myself anymore. One evening, cleaning the apartment, I found an old vinyl in an unopened box, a Miles Davis jazz album Claire loved. I remembered weekend mornings when she played it, dancing in the kitchen. For a moment, I wanted to keep it, like holding on to a piece of memory. But I wrapped it carefully, placed it in a small box, and mailed it to Claire's new address in Portland's suburbs, no note. It wasn't revenge. It was my way of letting go, returning what no longer belonged to me. On a weekend night, I stood on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker. Saxophone notes from my speakers blended with the breeze. I no longer dreamed of Claire or raged at Lucas. I thought about the paintings I was creating, about Maya, about the words on my blog reaching someone out there. 3 months ago, I was a betrayed husband, living in the shadow of 100 days. Now, I was Evan, a man learning to love himself again. I breathed deeply, feeling Portland's cool air, and knew that, though not perfect, I was on the right path.